had a specific idea when I started Mr. Big. Fortunately, I found 3 people that were so highly talented, in my opinion anyway, that I was able to achieve that, and it was a common vision that we all had. I really wanted to put together just a basic rockin' band with an amazing singer that can do many different things. So it was real important to have Eric Martin was the first choice I made, and just because his voice technically was really good, but you didn't even notice how technically good it was. You just listened to this guy sing. I mean, I heard his voice, and I thought, I mean, even if he wasn't in our band, I'd have to say, man, the guy's got his voice together. But he can do many, many different things with his voice, and he's also a great writer.
Just take my heart when you go. I don't have the need for it anymore. I always love you and it's too hard to go. Just take my heart when you go.
Pat was the drummer's choice because he, again, is just such a versatile. A lot of times people are versatile, but they're never focused on one thing. Pat somehow has managed to be able to focus on everything that he's good at. And when he's on it, it sounds like he knows what he's doing, and he does.
I would say that being in Mr. Big is the best situation I've been in musically for me, because I not only I'm a drummer in a band, which is what I always wanted to be anyway, but I'm involved with the writing of the music, with the creative part of it. It's not just, here's a song, play a beat to it. You know, we work together, and Billy and Paul have and Eric, whose father was a drummer, they have a working knowledge of drums and what works and what kind of doesn't. And they've suggested things to me, and I've tried it, and sometimes it works. It doesn't always work, but it's nice to have that, you know, somebody to bounce something off of that actually has a knowledge of it.
Paul Gilbert was the guitar choice because he can do, again, so many things. My playing was out of the ordinary, and initially I got some negative reactions from some people, but I got a high negative and a high positive, and not a lot in between, which to me indicated either I was doing something real right or real wrong, because there's never been a creative idea that had impact that wasn't opposed. Starting Talus a long time ago was very similar to how we started Mr. Big, and that's why we started Mr. Big the way we did, is because when Talus was started, it was just guys who wanted to play and enjoy what they're doing and do it for the music. We never thought about a record deal or platinum albums or making money at it. You know, we wanted to make a little money in order to pay for whatever our interests were, or rent maybe. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was to make music. And nowadays, so many bands that get together and their actual purpose is to try and get big and get famous and get successful and make money. And oh yeah, this music here too, we'll worry about that at some point. So with Mr. Big, we went way back to the old days, how bands were really put together, because we enjoyed doing it. We liked doing it. So it was very, very similar, parallel. So that meant live means live, whether it's in a tiny little club or in Madison Square Garden or wherever else. A lot of bands nowadays are put together for all kinds of reasons. Looks, somebody's got one chorus of one song that's kind of good, so they sign them and they hire people around them. All kinds of reasons. Rarely to actually go out and actually be able to play together as a band in harmony, with chemistry together. Then almost no one ever puts a band together like that. There's for all these other business reasons. It put Mr. Big together specifically to play it live.
Why didn't you call this the Billy Sheehan bass?
Because I don't think people want to be playing bass with my name stuck on their bass.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's good thinking.
Because, I don't know, I wouldn't want to play a I mean, I love Paul Samuel Smith, but I wouldn't want to play as Paul Samuel Smith bass. You know?
Right. It's just another bit of trying to search for your own identity and helping others too also.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, right you are, sir.
Situation with equipment now is such that anybody starting out is exposed to the stuff that you wouldn't even get to unless you've been playing for 10 years. So that's the problem. You see all this digital multi-rack effects, stuff like that. And I think there should be some kind of a law to help players. You got to take your instrument and a cord and plug it into the amp and start there. That's a starting point. So many people start with racks of stuff. I mean, I have tons of junk, you know. We've both been through times where there's been, you know, walls of gear. But we got there by natural progression. We both started out, basically, maybe a foot pedal or two, and that was it. And I know I used to just run my bass directly into my old SVTs in the early 70s, and that was all I did. And it's a natural progression. Okay, now that you got this working and it's a part of you, now you can build from it. But so many people try to build with no foundation at all, and it's really confusing. And I really feel for younger players or anyone starting out, because it's so confusing to me now. I mean, I still don't understand MIDI or any of that stuff at all, so I'm lost as far as that goes.
It's sort of like, here, Junior, it's your first car. It's a Boeing 747.
Exactly. What the heck goes in that case? Oh, all right.
Is it like a zither or something?
Triple neck mandolin.
You know, some of the old
I know someone who's from Triple Neck.
I can only do a jackknife.
Yeah, okay. You got
The triple neck mandolin.
Okay, two of the necks.
waiting to see a big show.
Two of the necks aren't really necks, but it sounded good.
Lindy,
Yeah.
triple
Wow,
Lindy.
it's like a Dan Electro.
From the old country.
Cool.
Yeah, look at the back of it. And it doubles as a crossbow.
Pretty good at this.
They did finally, you know, somebody made a Yamaha made a replacement.
I get it.
Because I had one for a while.
It's tuned in fifths.
And it wasn't quite
that
right,
long
but
to
it
figure
worked.
that out. One of the first songs that we did on our was the first song on our first record?
Addicted to that rush.
Yeah, that was.
I remember it well.
Was it the first song on the record though?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I can see these things sometimes slip by us. But it was kind of cool because it was a way to like kick off the band and show some, you know, wild guitar, bass histrionics and stuff, you know, and do some, let people know that, you know, here we are. We use it now at the end of the show because it's kind of a peak point, you know, and Paul and I do a little thing before it, and then we do the double, together, and it's a lot of fun to play. And I keep trying to, I don't know if you notice me when I'm doing it, because I'm standing up next to you. I'm always trying to not look.
It's impossible.
Oh, yeah, you're right, it is impossible.
I don't even remember how it goes.
Always that mode to continue to improve, but improvement can mean many things. Doesn't necessarily mean faster or more. You can improve. There's so many different facets and ways to play and areas of music. There's all kinds of ways to improve in it. A lot of times, for me, I like to improve on my ability to sing and play bass. It's hard to do. I can play guitar and sing easy. But to actually individually pick strings with my fingers and sing is very tough. So
Just a
that's
coordination kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's really hard, you know, chew gum and walk at the same time, that idea. So that, you know, there's lots of ways to improve, rather than just faster is better. Or, you know, the fastest guy must be the one who's improved the most. Not necessarily true. You know, tonality, the way your hands work on the thing, maybe heavier strings for better tone and stuff. You know, there's all kinds of ways. Increase your strength and dexterity, the simple things. Sometimes when I practice the simplest things, really work on just sitting with a metronome and You know, just. Dick for an hour. All the rest of my playing falls right in place. I actually started off, I stole my sister's acoustic guitar from her room and played it when she wasn't looking. I learned, basically how to play guitar, chords on it. Then I got actually a Gibson Les Paul TV model was my first guitar. And I played that for a very short time because I wanted to play bass, but it's so hard to find a bass or to get a bass, and bass is really, it's the thing I wanted to play. And so finally I was able to get a bass and an amp. It was a Hagstrom bass and a Gretsch amp. And I remember I had it for a couple of months, and my friend Joe, who started me off playing, came over to my house, and I wanted him to show him, Joe, you gotta see my amp. And he looks at my Gretsch amp and he goes, that's so small, I could use that for a keychain. You can't play bass through that, I was like, oh boy, I didn't have any money. So finally my grandmother, while she was alive, she said, as long as I'm alive, there'll never be an electric guitar in this house. Well, she died. And with the money from her insurance my mom gave me, I went out and got my first real amp and bass.
That's rock and roll for you,
That's
ladies
right.
and gentlemen. That's rock and roll.
So we have an RPM meter on her grave right now, so how fast she's spinning. The idea of improvisation for us specifically in Mr. Big is we basically have a foundation. We know what we're going to do. We know the song structure. We know which song goes where. But we also purposely leave room for things to happen. It makes it exciting for us each night on stage, keeps our excitement level way up all the time, because we never know sometimes what's going to happen. It's a surprise. And therefore, I think the audience realizes that, and that translates a bit, because if we're excited about it, they are. If we're not, why should they be? Every musician in the world, as he's up on stage, and that somehow that instinct comes to him to know what to do and where to go and how to do it, and instantly he's automatically synced up with the other guys in the band, and they instinctively do the exact same thing he does. At that point, it's a very magic thing. It's very, very strange, unaccountable occurrence, but it does happen. It happens with Mr. Big live on stage a lot. I'll just be out of nowhere. I'll be playing along, grooving along in the song, and I'll just do some lick, and Pat will do the exact same thing on the drums. He didn't know I was going to do it. I didn't know he was going to do it. But it comes from one essential thing to get to that point is to play together a lot. I mean, we go in, sometimes there's nothing to do. We're waiting before a tour or to do a record or something. We just go into the rehearsal studio and play and play and play. Do the set list, do the old set list. Let's do the first album. Let's do the second album. Let's play a bunch of old songs by this band or that band. Just play over and over. Just constantly learn each other's playing. And that's where communication within the group on stage live becomes the most essential, important factor above everything, because that's when that spark is going to occur, and that's when people see it and respond to it.
How hard can it be?
Yeah.
You put your finger on it, you hit it.
Hit it. That's the way it goes.
It's the Pat Torpy philosophy
it's
there.
like
How
no-
hard can it be?
When I was 16 years old, I thought I was the best drummer in the world. I thought there was nobody better than me. I mean, I just thought, hey, man, I am happening. I can do this and this and this. Well, then, that was the youth talking, obviously. You start learning what you don't know. And, I mean, I'm actually more passionate about drums and being in a band than I've probably ever been. I was in high school, and I'm a self-taught player, but I was in band, and they had a stage band where you played a kit. And basically it was all the drummers who were drummers in the band, which just played snare drum, very rudimentary, they all, who wanted to be the stage band drummer. So my attitude was, hey, I'm the best guy here. I'm really happening, so I'll be in the stage band. So I went down and we had auditions, and I played and I did my thing, and I thought I was great. I didn't get it. This other kid got it. I was devastated. And I thought, man, his name was Steve Lindemann. I remember his name. And I was really bummed out, and I thought, you know, I just thought, how could they not pick me? Doesn't he see how good I am and how good I'm going to be? And he didn't get it. Mr. Boyer didn't get it. And so that year, that same year, I really worked on it. I worked on playing. And he told me, well, your time was a little funny and this and that. And I just, wow, really? Well, I'm just devastated. So I went home and worked and worked and worked. By the end of the year, this was at the beginning of the school year, when I was a sophomore in high school. At the end of the year, I'd fool around in the drum room, in the music room, and be playing the kit. He actually came back to me and asked me, could you come to a rehearsal at the stage band? I went, and he asked me to sit in, and I actually overtook the gig from the guy that got it. You told me to mention your fuzz tone. Thanks for everything. Be groovy. Jimmy.
Be groovy.
It's the first autograph I've actually ever kind of swooned over. Jimi Hendrix Experience had a drummer, Mitch Mitchell, which kind of got me into being curious about jazz drumming, because he was very influenced by Elvin Jones, and I'd hear all these guys' names that I never heard of, and so I went back and checked them out. And just how he would incorporate how to say, double stroke rolls and things like that, and the rudiments that I didn't know anything about, like paradiddles and things like that. I had no knowledge of. I just imitated what I heard. Then later on, I went out and tried to figure out, well, maybe what exactly is going on here? What is the sticking? What is his right hand doing? What is the left hand doing? I could show you in where a normal straight ahead rock groove, and then what he might do with it. Now the normal straight ahead rock groove was something like this. Just a real straight, stiff kind of deal. And he added this kind of swing to it, and the way he would play his fills with grace notes and stuff. And he might have done it, say, like this. He would have gone. It's a real loose kind of feel. It's a looser kind of a jazz influence kind of thing, and that was a big influence on me. In fact, I learned the first 3 Hendrix albums verbatim, every little thing. You know, I really wanted to learn how to do. Picking this drum up here, it's an amazing new invention. See it? Turns, tightens the drum up. It's kind of a new thing. When I was 14 years old, my mother bought me a used set of Leedy Ludwig drums, which were actually, I couldn't wait to sell so I could get a real new set of drums, and now I wish I had those original drums that I started out with. And I just kind of banged around on them. From there on, I got a Ludwig kit. I worked at construction as a bricklayer after I graduated from high school. Bought a car and a new set of drums and went on the road, you know, and began my college education on the road with 1,000 different bands. I got a call on a Saturday morning. I was early morning, just woke up and was on the phone. Hey, Pat, you got to go to Chicago. Robert Plant needs a drummer. And I was listening to my machine, and I kind of went, huh? What? Yeah, no, what? Really? So I left the next morning, and I auditioned that afternoon, and I started learning the songs Monday, and I had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to learn an hour and 45-minute headlining set for Robert Plant. And I didn't sleep for 3 days, but I was destined, you know, I just thought, this is my job, I gotta do it.
Cool! I gotta get almost on 5, make my way through this yet.
Drum machines brought up the standard of what good time is. And now you have to, time has to be virtually perfect And I think that I'm kind of not necessarily in agreement with that. Because a lot of the old records that I really enjoy don't necessarily have perfect time. There's a human feel, and there's that only a human, the imperfection of being human is what really can make music feel great or have style, or all those things that make us not perfect, I think, are what's really great about music. See, it's not that tough.
When I moved out to LA, I was real curious to see what it'd be like because, you know, when all my friends are saying, yeah, you know, we heard what it's like out there. There's Van Halen on every street corner. Everybody plays. Everybody's great. You know, you'll never make it. You know? And I thought, wow, a Van Halen on every street corner. This is going to be amazing. I mean, even if I do suck in comparison to everybody else, I just want to. This I got to see. Back in the Racer X days, I was really excited because I'd been playing for a long time and had very little luck with picking. I thought I'd never be able to do it at all, you know, beyond just playing chords and hammer-on pull-off stuff. I was didn't have any confidence in my ability to do fast picking stuff. And when I first moved out to Los Angeles, a friend of mine showed me a real basic exercise, which I guess he had gotten from an Al Di Meola record, but I didn't know where it came from at the time. It was just sort of a 4 notes up and down. And it came much easier than I thought it would. And I heard him do it, and I went, my God, it's amazing. What is it? You got to show it to me. And you know, thinking that I'd never be able to play it, and for some reason it clicked, and that one lick started to work. And so I just did all kinds of variations on that, and a lot of the Racer X stuff, a lot of the solo playing anyway, was based on that kind of thing. Off with an old Stella acoustic that a friend of my mom's gave to me for Christmas when I was 5 years old, and nothing really worked until I was about 9, and started playing it by ear. So I played that for about 2 years, and then I saved up a bunch of money and bought a used Gibson Les Paul for $300 when I was 11. And after that, my dad and I started fixing up all these horrid old copy, just terrible guitars. And later on, when I moved out to LA, I started, well, I don't even know. What did I do? I had like this old weird Epiphone that I was playing for a while. And then as things began to get better and began to get some notoriety, Ibanez approached me, which has worked out real well. And I've just been playing those and collecting weird stuff ever since then.
He's supplying the sound. Hey, let him go.
Might buy it, you know?
Yeah, these are kind of pricey though. These are more than $100.
Cut! Wait a second.
I feel like a dancer.
I think I hurt myself.
Wow, the dots are like in the wrong place on this. It's amazing.
They are,
I can't play anything above this fret because the dots are in the wrong place.
Cool, actually.
I used to do a lot of rehearsing just with a drummer. I remember going down, I'd find a drummer and go down in his basement, and we'd sit there and play, Black Sabbath tunes for 3 hours, every night of the week for, my entire 8th grade, And I mean, that really, it would be a luxury to have a bass player or a singer or another guitar player, but growing up in a small town, it's really hard to find musicians to play with. So my main focus was finding a drummer because that would really give it the rock band sound. I've been in bands since I was 11 years old. Just learn other people's songs, renting my own stuff, doing shows, everywhere from little teeny fire halls to the loading docks of bakeries to the middle of the woods with generators to fashion shows at ski lodges. Just everything, anything to play. I mean, I'd go to bed at night dreaming about gigs, just going, man, if I only had this amp and this guitar and this tremolo bar, oh, it'd be so great, and the gig, and all the girls would love me, and it'd be unbelievable, So, it was almost an obsession, but I think a good one, because I really enjoyed it and still do.
San Francisco! It's real time!
Actually, by the time we started putting Mr. Big together, I was really starting to get kind of callous to a lot of the faster guitar stuff. It was really fun to play, but it was really wearing thin from my listening point of view. I wasn't enjoying listening to it nearly as much. And I'd been listening to a lot of Todd Rundgren, a lot of Beatles, and a lot of that kind of stuff. So that was sort of where I was at the time. And that probably came through a little bit. It got to the point a few years back where I felt that my fingers were much smarter than my brain. The things that I could play were beyond my ideas. I'd stopped really being concerned about so much what I wanted to do, but the how to do it part. And I thought, wait a minute, I got to screech on the brakes here and figure out where I want to go with this. What is it that I want to do? What am I going to do with all this stuff that I've learned how to play? And that really was a big change, a big turn, I think, in the right direction.
You need some rosin.
Anyone need help? Wow, it's the singing sword. I wonder why they call it the singing sword. First stop, unsuccessful. Nothing under $100.
Thanks, man.
Some cool stuff, too pricey. So where are the cheapies? Let me see if I have the cheapies. Okay. Gotta check out the cheapies. A pair of these.
Man cannot live with only one.
How do you
session
find
rocker.
these?
Well, we knew you were coming, Paul, so we had a special
So
order.
cool.
Dust is no extra charge.
Made in Korea, just like my other one?
Yes.
Session, right? I still get the plastic stuff on the pickups.
It's original, stock.
Man, this is so cool.
Perfectly in tune. Yes. It looks like it. Wow. That's cool. I think this is your new guitar, Paul.
129. No, 29, man. I'd be on
Come
the door
on.
with it.
We don't carry such cheap stuff here. This is a quality establishment. I know we have two.
Give us four. If we buy both of them,
It's like a matching bass. Buy both of them, $128.95.
Is this over $100?
Yeah, it's like $129.
$199.
We're working out, you know?
Such a good.
How you paying? You got good credit?
wow, there's actual Beatle autographs here.
Really?
Pretty amazing. Yeah, see, they're faded.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah, that's big stuff. Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying in a minute here when it's John Lennon.
When the Beatles came out, I think a lot of the guitar was pretty amazing. I mean, the tone and revolution. Told us stories. I remember hearing that and just being scared to death. What a tone. Or some of the solos later on that Clapton did or Harrison did, or even all the guys. I mean, even like the drum solo that Ringo does. That it's simple enough where someone who's not a musician can understand it and sort of imagine how they can imagine themselves doing it. I can do that. Wow, that's awesome. And whereas a lot of stuff that's so complicated is completely, you have to listen to it so many times to understand it. That's the layman might have trouble on the first listen. A lot of times if I have a mental block, I'll listen to some classical music just for rhythmic ideas or melodic ideas that I would never think of otherwise. And a lot of times the stuff I end up coming up with is nothing like the classical thing that I listen to, but was somehow inspired by it. For me, I really enjoy classical music just because I grew up with it. My parents had the Beatles records, Stones records, and a bunch of classical. And it didn't hit me as, I didn't like it as much initially. I think just because it didn't have rock drums and rock vocals, because that's my favorite thing in the whole world. But melodically it's great and it is beautiful, and I like to cook to it. It never occurred to me to use music theory for music. To me, I always thought, well, this is, more fun than math class, and but how the heck does it work in, how do you use it on the guitar? I had no idea, and at GIT, it started to really make sense how to apply a lot of the stuff. And actually, it wasn't so much applying it. It was, I'd been playing long enough where it was really just sort of giving names and labels to things that I knew already, and ways to think about them that made a little more sense. It was funny though, when I first started really getting into music theory stuff, it completely made me unable to play blues, which was really hilarious. I'd go to band rehearsal and the guys would start doing a blues thing just for fun, and I'd start playing and look at me and go, "Man, you suck. That reeks. That's awful. You can't play blues at all." And we weren't a blues band, so I thought, well, that doesn't matter. I don't want to play blues anyway. And then later on I thought, but I really sort of would like to be able to do it a little bit, maybe. So I started getting out some of my blues-based records and just listening again and sort of realizing, oh, okay, I remember how I used to play, before I learned correctness. 3, 4.
The piano was in the living room, actually, in our house in Europe. But we didn't have room for the piano when we brought it to, we moved to Sacramento, California. So we stuck it in the garage and all the storage. And it was private. And so it was like a some people like tree forts, or how like kids like to hide and stuff. And I was sort of introverted, and I wanted to get away from family and just all the far from the maddening crowd. So I go and hide in this little storage area and start playing piano and humming and doing all kinds of stuff, and started to sort of daydream out loud. And I would just start to write songs, and I've kept this for over the years. I start out with a title. That's the vision. Start out with a real cool title, and then I build this. That's my foundation. I build around it. Just take my heart when you go. I don't have the need for it anymore. I'll always love you, but you're too hard to hold. Just take my heart when you go. I wanted to be a drummer, actually. When I first started out, all singers want to be drummers, got that natural rhythm, pop, pop. I wanted to do everything. When I first started out, I played drums, and had a singer just was singing a little out of key. I said, I want to do that gig. That looks easy, because the drumming is a little too hard there. And so I started out as a drummer, and then I wanted to be a singer. And then it wasn't until years later that I found out that I was a songwriter. I'd worked with a lot of musicians, but I was a solo artist, so the musicians were mercenaries, basically, and session sausages or whatever. No offense to anybody, but they were just there for the money, And so when I was in a band with Billy and Paul and Pat, these guys, they were just so talented, and I was so inspired to write all these songs, because then I knew that they could play them exactly the way I wrote them. My dad wanted me to play the drums, and it was fun, but I wasn't really any good at it. I was a better singer than I was a drummer. And like I said, my first microphone was my hands, Yes! Right you are, sir. And, and like Paul said, like a toilet tissue tube or something.
Or for big gigs, a paper towel.
Yeah.
Hey,
or
brawny.
like a poster tube is just the giant stadium gig.
Right. Woodstock, you use the thing that comes in carpeting.
Right. So, and actually, my first guitar was this like Mickey Mouse plastic guitar that you spin around. You couldn't play it, but it looks so cool when you turn. You take the lampshade off your lamp, and you stand in front of the lamp, and you look up at the bedroom ceiling, and your shadow is this gigantic guy. Your big shadow Elvis on the wall. And rocking out. Remember, my first band was called the Buzz. B-Z-Z-Z-Z-Z-Z-Z, and on and on. And I played in the Buzz, and we played like teen clubs. And actually, our first gig was opening to, our big break was Sergio Mendes and the Brazil 66 at some Army Post Theater, And I got to play the guy's drums, and it was like some leopard skin drum. It was like really tacky, gaudy thing. I got to play it and play my, Buddy Rich drum solo. And then I was doing that for a while, and then I wanted to be a lead singer, too. I wanted to do it all, like the guy in Rare Earth, when he played the drums and sang, get ready, 'cause here I come, on my way. I wanted to do it all. But, it ticked the lead singer off who was in the band already, we couldn't get rid of him. And plus, they wanted somebody to do the front thing, So I said, well, somebody else play drums. I want to be the front guy. Listened to a lot of R&B when I was growing up. because I think that there was a real, the majority of GIs who were on this post were black, and they were listening to a lot of bubblegum pop music, like Temptations, and Stylistics, and Spinners, and stuff like that. And then listening to the black music, I started getting into the older stuff, more blues, like Lead Belly and Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker, and then even Stax Volt, Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett. I started emulating these singers, and people going, "Hey, you can't do that. You're a white kid," you know. Where everybody else went, like when I was joining bands after the buzz, they'd go, "Can you sing like Robert Plant or Geddy Lee or somebody that sings really, you know, high?" And I go, "No, I want to be Otis Redding."
The devil in the skies. She took me down the road to ruin. You know what I'm talking about now? I hear won't stay around. I better wanna do it. Back on the road to ruin. She took me down the road to ruin.
A song like "To Be With You," I wrote the song 15 years ago. I was playing piano, and then I switched to guitar. It's only 3 chords, those famous 3 chords Eric Martin knows. E, A, and B, you know? And just, I wrote it, like I said, I wrote it 15 years ago, and it was about this person, this girl in Sacramento who was about 18 years old, and she was the older woman, and she was abused mentally by all her boyfriends and all, and I was her confidant, her little, you know, her little psychiatrist or something like that, you know. Like, I didn't have a clue, like, I still don't have a clue about love. I just write things, whatever comes to my mind, you know, but I could give her all this advice, you know, and build up your confidence so you can be on top for once, and so I wrote all this. What I said to her, I remembered, and I wrote it down on paper as soon as I got home, and I had the title "To Be With You." I wanted to be with you. It's just a simple title, and then I wrote some music to it, the chorus idea, which has like been this haunting melody, nursery rhyme in my head for 15 years. I'm the one who wants to be with you. You know, and I carried it around my head for 15 years, and thank God the world's here, and I get it out of my head and into your hands.
Come on, baby, come on over. Let me be the one to hold you. I'm the one, yeah. Deep inside, I hope you'll feel it. You'll feel it too. Waiting on a line, waiting on a line. Yeah, just to be the next to be with you.
I feel secure about my playing, about this band, about everything. So, but yeah, there was a lot of times when it was rough. I mean, I remember I had a 1977 Pinto that I drove into the ground, and I had as the rear wheel the fake tire that they have in the back. You know, that you're only supposed to drive for like 30 miles. I drove on it for like 2 years. You know, it was like, you know, the car was always like that, you know, drive like, and it was. When I finally left town to go to start with David Lee Roth, that was the car I left behind. My brother sold it for me, and he said that he sold it to somebody where he worked, and he said he could always tell where the guy parked that car because there's always parts and pieces laying in the parking spot from where it was. You know.
I think if you don't worry about the goals, I'm more concerned with making sure I'm putting in the work. I mean, the goals and the results kind of take care of themselves if you put the time in of being what a band's supposed to be, of getting the songs together and doing the albums and recording. That's to me is the fun part. And the goals and the results take care of themselves. I mean, if you put the work in, the results happen. Not maybe in the way as fast as you might want them to, or maybe one goal might not be exactly what you thought it was going to be, but you will see some results.
Some of the best gigs of my life in the old days were when, you know, there was 15 people in the club and 5 of them were waitresses. I mean, you know, that's some of the best, most memorable gigs I've ever had like that. So it really doesn't matter. And then again, some gigs that went by me like a blur and I never remember were some of the biggest gigs I've ever done. You know, so it really doesn't matter. It's good for players that haven't done it yet to know that the best gigs you're ever going to do in your life sometimes are the ones you're doing right now, and the ones that you remember. I mean, there were times in Buffalo, New York, I'd be playing these horrible clubs, and I'd be just out of my mind thinking, oh, God, am I ever going to break out of this? And looking back on it now, I'm glad I did those gigs. It taught me a lot. It was not easy, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about everything from life to the music business to bass guitar to everything.
If you had a regular job and, you know, you work for 2 weeks, then you get your check, you're paid, and you sort of think, you know, as you're working, you think, well, this is tedious or boring, but I get my check in 2 weeks. In music, the checks and the good stuff all come at weird times. You know, you work real hard on doing the album, and then like a couple months later it comes out, and then maybe a little bit after that it gets played on the radio, and it can be confusing because when things actually happen, you know, you're just sitting around not doing anything, and you think, wow, you know, I didn't have to do anything to do this. You forget about all the work you did before.
I was very close to giving it up one time where it was a year before I met Billy, and you know, I've had a pretty long career as far as I made an album in 1983 with my own band, the Eric Martin Band, and I made a couple soundtracks on Capitol and 2 solo albums, sang a bunch of people's records. I just couldn't get a break, you know, and there was just a period of so many turn downs. You know, I'd get signed, and a whole company would be shaking my hands and toasting champagne, and then a month later they'd all get fired or something, you know. And so lots of ups and downs in my career, and I always thought it was a jinx. You know, they're like, oh man, this ain't, you know, I'm having a good time. I feel like I'm talented here, and I've got a lot of drive. I really want to make it, but I don't know. I just felt like maybe I'm just destined to be kind of a, you know, maybe a lounge singer or something, or just play in San Francisco all my life, because that's all I seem to be doing. I never really got to go on the road, and so it's quite depressing. So I was on it's a fine line between, do I want to keep going for it, or do I just want to give up and just be, you know, I could fall back on just doing the lounge thing as a top 40 band. But I just put a little cold water on my face, slap myself in the head and said, keep going, keep going. And then a year later, Billy called, and
No more lounging.
I'm not a jinx anymore.